Okay, so June 2nd, today we're going to be talking about Tiny Tina's interdisciplinary communication. This was a talk by two people who work at Gearbox discussing how Gearbox does how Gearbox specifically facilitates interdisciplinary communication. Um, and yeah, so starting off, I realized that most of the ways they uh, do this is by focusing on what is being communicated. So an example of this is they discuss scope creep at the beginning. Scope creep is when you have too many ideas to implement and you're not going to be able to implement them all. That's like a really shorthand version of it, but it's essentially when you set up too much work for yourself to do when you're not going to be able to do it. That's what I would describe scope creep as. But he talks about how setting design goals is really important in a project because it allows you as a person or you as a solo individual to compare your ideas to design goals and then decide whether your idea fits within this game or not. Design goals are general guidelines or ideas that you want to meet when designing a game, and they can be set up. They're a way to design a game. They're not the way, to be clear. So yeah. Additionally, so he also mentions being transparent with your leads. Leads are a higher position within any studio. You have juniors, you have mids, and then you have seniors, and then you have leads. Leads are the people who are usually facilitating communication with other leads of other departments. So generally, if you have something super important, then you probably want to go to them. But more often than not, you're required to communicate to other departments. If I'm making a level and I want to make a change to it suddenly, I gotta talk with art, I gotta talk with VFX, I gotta talk with sound. I gotta make sure that anything that is being affected by my change or anything I want to add for my change, everybody in the department, or not everybody in the department, but the affected people need to know before I talk with my lead about it. So yeah, another thing he talks about here, this isn't exactly related to interdisciplinary communication, but he talks about how new ideas don't always equal original ideas. Using Call of Duty as an example, a very iterated on game, one that's released pretty consistently, the core gameplay loop often stays the same. You're more than not shooting people with a gun, and you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna level up, and then you're gonna prestige, right? But new ideas are brought into that series. They aren't always original. Original meaning totally like from nowhere, crafted from the ether type shit, right? But they're new to the series, and that's what's important. A new idea doesn't mean it stands out as an original idea. It means it's effective within the context you give it. So it would be a new idea is an effective idea that alters the original formula. Or if you're working from the ground up, a new idea is just an effective idea, one that works within the game you're designing. So on the production side, some things Kayla Belmore, the senior producer at Gearbox, mentioned were being flexible when planning. Something is always going to go wrong in game dev. It's important to be able to accommodate and calculate for that. Not calculate necessarily, because you can't calculate for everything. But it's important to be able to roll with the punches. You know, if a wrench gets thrown in, you gotta know, okay, that fucking sucks, but you take the wrench out and then you fix whatever got broken. That's a lot of what game dev is. It's solving problems when you solve problems. And that would be, if you remember, we talked about linear design. That would sort of be what that is. That's a key component of what design is, solving problems as they come up. So yeah, I already mentioned that when making changes, it's important to discuss within the associated departments. Something Kayla also mentions is that it's important, producers are responsible for communicating with leadership about constraints of a team they're watching over. So what does that mean? That means if my team as a producer, if my team doesn't have enough resources, their tech is bad, they don't have enough time, they don't have enough money, my team is suffering dear mental health, there's a pipeline issue somewhere. As a producer, I need to figure that out. And sometimes it's like that's not going to happen, right? Not going to happen as in I'm not going to realize it. Maybe one of my team members tells me, but it's important that I facilitate that conversation with whoever can get that problem fixed as soon as possible. Because creatives are going to work under circumstances that they best work under, which changes per person, but generally you just want to get like a good situation in the studio to try to optimize workflow. And then at the end, when asked what allows this kind of communication, Caleb Belmore responded that leadership allows this kind of communication. So what does that mean? Higher than leads, higher than anything, studio heads or whoever's running a studio is going to control how a studio communicates. They're going to set standards in place, and it's important that those standards allow the creatives or designers or audio engineers or whatever to communicate as they need to and very often. That sounds really vague because genuinely I don't really understand. I only know up until a lead, but if I had to imagine, it would probably be because I don't know. We're gonna stick with I don't know there, and then I'll do some more looking into like how I suppose how leadership works within a game design studio. So maybe that's what I should be doing. Anyways, that was mainly it. So as like sort of a summary, interdisciplinary communication within a game design studio is best facilitated in an environment with design goals, so you aren't communicating ideas that straight up aren't going to work. Transparency, which is a big one, where if there is a problem, the appropriate people know about it, and if there are changes, the appropriate people also know about it, where new ideas are always being thought of, and then where flexibility is emphasized, where if something blows up, you're ready to fix the hole, creeper Minecraft. Anyways, that's it for today. If you have any questions, I'm on Instagram, bro. I don't know.